Hello and welcome. I'm Jenny, founder of Gentle Landmark and the host of Gathering Voices. This is your go-to podcast for real, raw stories from women who are out here building businesses, creating change, and making waves in their communities. This episode shares one woman's journey through pregnancy and postpartum challenges, navigating hormonal acne, hyperpigmentation, and rebuilding self-confidence. Her experiences led to the creation of XO Brown Girl, a product-based business, and later became an esthetician, opening her own studio, Beyond Skin Aesthetics. Tune in for an inspiring story of growth and transformation from founder Frankie. Hi, Frankie. How are you?
Good. How are you, Jennifer?
I'm good. I'm so excited to have you here and to have a conversation that revolves around pregnancy, postpartum struggles, and how they shaped your journey as an entrepreneur. I first met you for Gentle Landmark when I was trying to source different brands I aligned with, my mission, and you were one of the first. So I'm super excited to, you know, get to know you a little bit more.
Yes, I'm excited and really honored to be here. So thank you for having me here.
Oh, yeah, of course. Why don't you introduce yourself?
So I'm Frankie. I am a skincare formulator and owner of a skincare brand known as XO Brown Girl. And then as of recently, I'm a holistic esthetician. So I do focus on facials and skin health and facial massage, helping healing in a different way. That's just from like more so the inside out.
I can't wait to dive into that transition because I knew you as XO Brown Girl,
Yes.
and now you've got this whole aesthetic studio. I'm excited to dive into that. Tell us kind of like how you dove into XO Brown Girl and what was the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, so a funny thing, I XO Brown Girl pretty much fell in my lap. I started it during the pandemic as a lot of other individuals. We were home, we had a lot more time. But it pretty much transitioned from just a life events that I was experiencing prior to that. So my youngest son, who's now 10, but during the pregnancy with him, I experienced quite a bit of acne. At the time, I didn't know like why this was happening. But if you are a woman that's been pregnant before, there's so much going on. There's so many moving parts. There's so many emotions, and that was just one caveat to it. So I pretty much just dealt with the acne, and then later, eventually, hyperpigmentation because I was so focused on like just bringing this child into the world in a healthy manner,
As you
right?
should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just getting through the process, right, as much as possible. So my skin health wasn't important during my pregnancy. I wasn't focused on that part. And then once I had him, it's another journey because you're a mom that's with a child that needs you 24/7. So you're focusing on, just creating that environment for your child, but also your body is trying to like reacclimate to what it was before pregnancy. So eventually I decided, okay, now it's time for myself. I got to a point where I could focus on myself and I started just focusing on the acne because I was still experiencing that. And that's when I learned I had hormonal acne. And I went to see a dermatologist and I'm like, okay, I need some solutions because I don't feel pretty anymore. Like I didn't before and I don't now. And now I'm starting to get back to myself and went to a dermatologist and I was just pretty much told that you either have to stop nursing because I was still nursing. He was almost 2 and I was nursing him. In order for me to help, clear up your acne, you would have to stop nursing or you would have to wait until your journey with nursing is done. So that was deflating because it was like I don't want to stop something that I've worked so hard with my child. And, we're in this space. It's a journey, nursing is a journey. It's a whole nother journey. So I felt like it wasn't fair to have to choose between what my skin like looks like and how I feel, but then also choose between the health of my child and having to stop something that I know is beneficial for him, as well.
Yeah.
So I did go the route of just continuing my journey with nursing. And then I decided to look into more holistic approaches, more natural plant-based options that did not have to take away, me nursing my son.
Yeah. Wow, that's wild to hear that. And I think that's really awesome to try to find that holistic approach because I feel like we live in a society that isn't.
Yes.
And it just sounds wild to me that you have to like lose this bond with your son and, feeding him, which is so natural,
Right.
in order to help yourself out and make you feel better as well.
Yes. Yes. And it's tough because when you become a mom, prior to being a mom, you only have to worry about yourself. The reality is you don't have to worry about anything else but yourself and taking care of yourself. When you become a mom, it looks a lot different because you become pretty selfless and everything that matters is about them, right? And so in my journey of motherhood, because this wasn't very intuitive, is that I had to learn that I have to be good, I have to be strong, I have to pour into
Yeah.
me first in order to make sure that they are good. We subtract that from the equation. We're just like, nope, they need it, so we pour into them, but the reality is, you have to be at your best in order to give to them as well. So when I was lacking the confidence, that in some way goes to them as well. They can feel that energy as well, and they're affected by it as well.
Yeah. So what was that transition like in terms of, deciding, hey, I want to make sure that my son and my own health are good, and then still having to figure out a solution to your feelings and, you feeling better about yourself.
Yeah, so pretty much when I left that day, I was like, I'm not taking no for an answer. I am starting to feel better. So I want to keep that traction going. That's when I started looking for more, holistic approaches to clearing my skin, which I did. I did it all on my own with, no medications, not got no guidance. And it probably took me a little bit longer than someone now just because I didn't have guidance. So I was kind of figuring things out,
Yeah.
right? But it was fulfilling for me because I learned along the way, and then I created my own terms with still being able to nurse my son and have that bond and wean him off on my own terms, not just because I was trying to feel better about my skin. So that transition was actually beautiful because I learned a lot about myself and really just like like I said, just pouring into yourself and making sure that you're good to be good for them. So I want to say within a year, my skin was back to normalcy. And it was good because I learned not only how to care for my skin, but I learned how to listen to it and, what makes it tick, what's causing it. I really educated myself more so. Whereas before it was like, I'm just using products because I think that's what I'm supposed to use. So yeah.
Yeah. That's big. I'm thinking in my own like head, like, do I even know my own skin and like listening to it?
Yeah. Trust me,
Like,
I
what
think
does
we've
that
all been
even
there.
mean?
Yes, yes. We've all been there, trust.
So you're on this journey. You've now figured out kind of what's working and what's not for yourself. How has that pushed you into EXO Brown Girl?
I started becoming just really more interested in skin, just all the caveats of it and skincare. And then I just thought about all the other women like myself or have very similar journeys and what they're going through, and they don't really have that type of guidance. We do live in
Yeah.
a world, even, I started EXO Brown Girl 5 years ago, but we still live in a world that there's instant gratification. And a lot of what's put out there is you use this product and tomorrow, your acne is gone. And that's just not the
Yeah.
reality. It's not. So I wanted to be able to help women like embrace that, will provide knowledge for them, right? Empower them. With their skin health, but also understand that your skin is directly correlated to everything on your body. I mean, it's the largest organ on your body and it's your largest defense. If you didn't have it, I mean, you wouldn't be able to survive. Just like with your heart, it's just as important as your heart or your brain.
Yeah.
We don't think about those things, unfortunately, but everything that we put in and digest, that is pushed out to the skin. So I really immersed myself in not only learning about like formulating products and putting those things together to make the finished product, but also equipping myself to really learn the caveats of like how the skin works and being able to empower other women to say, hey, I don't have to just deal with this hormonal acne. Like there are solutions for it.
Absolutely. And it's so important that, we as women, we go through different things than men. We are the ones who can provide life and all those
Yes.
things. And there's not a ton of research out there to give us
Mm-hmm.
that guidance in general.
Yes.
So we really have to support each other in finding approaches or what is beneficial and what will work. So that's
Right.
really lovely that you're able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially, I mean, to each its own, but, I'm really I don't like to use the term natural because that's super subjective. But if you can go in a route that's not as aggressive, then I like that approach. And there's a lot of things out here that really rip the skin apart to try to rebuild it. And the reality is, I did it on my own with oils and just everything plant based, and it's doable. It may not be as quick as other things that are out there, but it's doable. And if that is the route that you feel more connected to and feel safe knowing that your body is not undergoing a lot of harm, then yes, I want to be able to create those solutions for others.
Yeah. And I like what you just said going into it's not just a done deal. You don't use the product once, you don't use it twice, you don't use it three times, maybe. It's a journey. So as you are finding the skincare and the ingredients that work well to be able to help not only yourself but other people, how did you find how that affected your postpartum pregnancy, with your mood or anything like that? Because you said you were struggling with your self-confidence as well as you were
Mhm.
going through that.
Yeah, for sure. Because I went through, I mean, it was hard. No lie. Like I always say now it's a flex that I have the option to wear makeup or not, because I can still go out and not wear makeup, and not demeaning women that wear makeup, but for myself and my personal journey, there was a time where I would never walk outside of my home without makeup on. It had to, that was my cover up. So, kind of like the beautiful thing about that whole process was I learned how to apply makeup on my own, and I really like it's now more so a hobby to me, I guess. And I enjoyed the process, but that was a necessity for me at that point because I was still covering up while I was going through that journey. And that probably also created some type of delay as well for healing my skin, because I was like just packing it on until my skin cleared, right?
Right.
But now I can choose whether or not I want to go barefaced or not without having to feel like I got to cover up. And then I also have a better relationship with my skin, because when I
Yeah.
do have a breakout, I don't feel the need to have to cover up. I'm just like, I don't care. This is natural.
Yeah.
This is normal. I'm human. This is what skin goes through. Like our bodies go through changes, our skin goes through changes. So during that process, while it was difficult, it did teach me a lot about that. It's like, okay, now it's a lot more easier to cope with. It's a beautiful journey because now I don't
Yeah.
have to wear makeup or feel like I have to. And then even during those times, a lot of times I would take pictures like with my son without any makeup on, or I would just exclude myself out of pictures because of the way my skin looked.
Yeah. I love how you just like define confidence, and confidence is different for everyone. And it's just a really beautiful thing to hear like your version of what that looked like and going through those kind of struggles and such.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful. I'm curious about your name, XO Brown Girl, too, because it kind of reminds me as like a love letter to yourself almost. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's what it was, but
Yeah. Spot on. Yep. So when I came up with the name, XO is universal for love.
yeah.
And it was just like a love letter to not only myself but other brown girls that were experiencing what I experienced. Hyperpigmentation is very heavy in the skin of color community, and it's just basically how the skin works. We have this melanin, it's much more reactive with skin of color. So I know that that's a top concern for women of color and men as well, not excluding them, but it's definitely a top concern, especially with women because we are more self conscious of our looks, right? So that was like a ode or a love letter to myself, but also all brown girls. So yeah.
I love that. Tell us about what you're doing now.
I pretty much operated Exo Brown Girl for about 3 years, and that was a journey because you're starting a business, you're learning how to formulate. So I do formulate my own products and manufacture them. So I was doing all of that and learning how to like properly put ingredients together that's going to make that finished product, right? That's going to work. That was a journey in itself. And then just learning how to run a business, it's tough.
Yeah,
But it's very, very tough. It's not for the weak. As you know. So
absolutely.
definitely difficult.
It's
But
like you never even figure it out.
no, it's always a learning experience as you go. So I did that for a while and then I considered opening a storefront. But during that process, I discovered, wait a minute, I always have wanted to be an esthetician, but I never had the time because I had little ones and the time frame just didn't work to commit to going to school. And
Yeah.
now that they're a little bit older, I'm like, let's let's start this process. And I went back to become an esthetician, which was great because I learned it deepened my knowledge with skin health. So not only did I have ingredient knowledge and how to put those ingredients together, but now I had a deeper knowledge of skin health. And there are other things outside of skincare that you can help with healing the skin.
Yeah.
So I went to aesthetic school, I became an esthetician, and then I decided to follow more so the holistic approach, which is basically the connection between mind, body, and soul. So it's not just about skincare, it's not just about skin treatments, but it involves your overall wellness. Stress is the number one contributor to acne, right? So it's about wellness and the foods that we digest, and then the combination, of course, with skincare products and treatments. I decided to go that route because I wanted to be more on the root cause approach way, as opposed to, oh, you have acne, I'll just give you this product to kill the acne, but why not go a little bit deeper to find out what's causing the acne type thing?
I love that action-based drive that you have. With that, tell me some of like the challenges, the victories that you've had throughout your journey. It can be through XO Brown Girl or where you're at now with Beyond Skin, but I'm curious to hear some of those things.
Oh, so many. There's so many. I will start with XO Brown Girl because that really was the catalyst for where I am today. And that I feel like that's my baby. Like, I don't know if I could ever really let it go. But it's definitely my baby because it's gotten me to where I am today. And I'm able to help women in like a much broader way, a more personal way. So that I would say that's the win for me is that with skincare, selling skincare, it's a little bit different, especially when you're selling it online. So you have this connection with people, but it's not as interpersonal. But when people come into my treatment room, it's a lot different because you're there along their entire journey. And so you're able to help them, especially
Yeah.
those with like acne. I'm not only helping you with clearing your acne, but the confidence level when you work with someone with acne and they start seeing their skin change for the better, it's the most rewarding thing ever because you know that you aren't just healing someone physically, but internally, emotionally as well, right? Even like I've had clients, I am very massage focused in my treatment room. So I'll have clients that don't really have any skin concerns, but they just need that like that relaxation, right? And just to see that I've uplifted someone's soul, provide a little bit more energy for them, like it's the best feeling ever. So being an esthetician, I love because I get to heal people in a different way and not just solely with their skin health. Like it's a different form of healing. I would say that's my win. Definitely my biggest win. The challenges is just like learning how to run business. Running business online looks different from in person because now it's a different way of selling. Believe it or not, we're selling. We have to sell ourselves. I mean, that's how we sell. That's how we make money. So it's a different way of selling and presenting yourself compared to online. And so learning how to transition between the two roles, being able to sell products and make them and still have time for clients and then be mommy and have time for myself. So that's the biggest challenge I would say is that you go through this roller coaster of, I don't like to say balance, but create some type of harmony in your life.
Yeah, I like that harmony.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that because balance is, I mean, we all, I think, strive for it, but it's so difficult to figure out what that looks like.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I like harmony. That is kind of more of like a fluid motion. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love
Ab-
that. Thank you for saying that.
yeah,
I needed to
absolutely.
hear that.
For sure. You're welcome.
Okay, so we've got victories and challenges. What about any key lessons that you've learned?
Key lessons definitely is work past your fear. I probably would have been an esthetician a lot sooner if I worked past the fear of like, we create excuses for things that maybe we don't think that we're ready for or you may not be good at. So I probably could have worked around certain things in order to make that happen. Just working past your fear, knowing you're good enough. There's still, believe it or not, I still have imposter syndrome, even with XO Brown Girl. And there's so many skincare products out there, and I always feel like, is it good enough? Will clients use it? Will they see transformation? But those are the products that I use in my treatment room. So of course they're going to see transformation because I use it on them when they come in. So there's always self doubt. What are some things I could be doing more? How do I pour into myself? So definitely imposter syndrome is big for me because especially on social media, there's so many,
Oh, yeah.
you'll see, and I love that people are winning, but I also think that they're smoking mirrors with a lot of things. And so it's hard because you'll see people like, dang, especially those that have started with me or around the time that I started. And I'm like, I should have been here by now, right? Or
Yeah.
what's holding me back from getting to the next level? So, yeah.
I like to always keep in mind, like, this is my journey because I struggle
Mhm.
with imposter syndrome 100% as well. And yeah, I try to focus on my journey and what is meant for me will happen.
Yes.
And as long as I keep on dreaming and keep putting things into place, eventually I will get to wherever that may be. I'm not
Yeah.
sure what that is,
Yes.
but I will get there as long as I just keep with it in whatever momentum that I have in the piece that I have.
So, so, so very true. Even now as an esthetician, I compare myself to others and I'm like, wait, I have to keep like you said, reminding yourself that, I am where I am. This is where I'm supposed to be. And people
Yeah,
gravitate to me because of who I am. And,
absolutely.
it's like an everyday thing that you have to remind yourself for sure. For sure.
It is, it's hard.
Yeah.
Going back into the beginning of your story, do you have any advice for dealing with postpartum challenges and kind of skin struggles at all?
Yes, for sure. So with postpartum, definitely, I would say first see an esthetician, of course, someone who is comfortable with dealing with women postpartum, right? Especially if they're still nursing, then you still kind of have to tread lightly with certain treatments. So build a relationship with a professional that can help provide you with guidance. I don't like the winging it type thing because when you wing it, you waste a lot of time and can cause more harm than good to your skin, or just it
Yeah.
takes the transition or the journey much longer. So just seek help, guidance. You don't have, like, I have clients that come in, they don't see me monthly. They see me once a quarter, or they come in for advice. What should I be using? How often? And so they come in mostly quarterly. I'm okay with that because you're telling me that I can handle this on my own when I'm not around you, but I just need some guidance on what direction I need to take. So pour into yourself, get the professional help, and not just with skincare, like journaling, walking, taking some
Oh,
time for you. I didn't do that when I had my kids. I was like, I'm in mommy mode. So it's like them. And now that they're older, and then just kind of like me growing in life, I wish going back that I did still pour into them, but I also took some time for me. So when instead of like me walking the baby, I could just do my own walking and just kind of get clarity for myself and journaling and reading and still kind of maintaining who you are, because the reality is postpartum you're going through a lot, not just with your skin. Your body's trying to quickly readjust to who you were before this child was formed. And it's hard. Your hormones are all out of whack, and so this child needs and pulls everything out of you. So I would definitely say focus on just pouring into yourself so that you can get back to, even if it's not the person that you were before pregnancy, but just get to a place where you're healthy and you're loving on you. You're loving on you for sure.
I love that you made that point. That's huge. And
Yeah.
even for those of us who aren't postpartum or anything, I think just as daily affirmations and such, like
Yeah.
especially we as women and just the way our society is, and
Mhm.
specifically as being a Black woman, and
Yeah.
again, that added
Yes.
bit to our society. Yeah, take time for yourself.
You have to. You have to because you get lost. It's so much going on. So you can lose yourself. Just even a couple years back, I didn't realize it, but I was in survival mode. I wasn't. I was just living and just in survival mode. So when you put those practices and habits into your daily life, it just makes it a lot easier. You can have those self-care, and you shouldn't feel guilty for doing that. Like I used to feel when I
No.
would take a nap, like during the day, I felt guilty for resting, but really my body was saying, "Girl, you need to rest." And so now it's like there's no guilt. My body's telling me I need to do it, and I'm going to do it. So
Yeah.
whereas before, I think society does play a role in it. And it's like you're not being lazy. You are resting and you're recharging and you're resetting, and your body needs that.
Oh, okay. I'm going to leave it at that. I think that just summed up this conversation so well.
Yes.
Thank you, Frankie, so much for joining me today. And yeah, we'll continue to stay connected, okay?
Yes, I loved it. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Well, you have a good one, okay?
Okay, you too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Gathering Voices. Don't forget, we release a new episode every month filled with more inspiring stories and heartfelt conversation. Stay connected, stay inspired, and let's continue to celebrate the voices that shape our world. Until next time, take care and share your story.